Well, you've been consistent and a vocal proponent for reopening quicker. Do you again believe that today's approach was the wrong way to go?
Yeah, unfortunately, in San Diego County, we've got a lot of businesses that have invested a lot of money and are doing the right things. And now all of a sudden they're getting shut down. It is in one swath. It's kind of a broad brush approach, closing down nail salons, closing down fitness centers, places of worship, indoor, and malls. We're already at 15% unemployment, and businesses have made a big investment. And there has been some bad actors out there, and I think those businesses should be dealt with and maybe put more restrictions on. But the broad brush stroke of knocking down all of these businesses, particularly for the people that just got their jobs back and felt some sort of sense of security, and now they're losing their jobs again. And I think quite frankly, our hospitals here in San Diego County are not overwhelmed. We've actually stayed at a steady state, about 67% capacity. Only about 1/8 of that capacity has been with the COVID patients. We've been doing pretty well, even though our numbers of positive cases are up, testing positive. Our death rates are down. And even with
but those are also always lagging indicators that a lot of health officials say that we should be careful not to point to lower death rates because that could still be coming. We had more than 500 cases reported several days in a row last week, so certainly cases are surging. And I know that you've mentioned that broad brush approach being something you're against. So tell me, what would a more surgical approach look like to you? How does that actually even work in terms of enforcement? Do you have to have people out on the street looking at businesses? I mean, because California had one of the most dramatic shutdowns and also one of the most conservative reopenings.
Well, I'll tell you though, on that death rate, it's been about a 14-day decrease. So it isn't just a one-day or one-time issue. It's a trend that has been happening. So one of the things that actually the county has done is they said on bars and restaurants, they had to close at 10 o'clock at night because, to try to keep people safer. And I'm more for, if a establishment is not practicing social distancing and not requiring masks, those are the businesses that we need to go after and make sure that they're either adhering to those.
But how do you do that? Are you talking about hiring people and having them go around? I mean, law enforcement officers walking door to door. How do you do that?
Well, we've got officers. They do. It's surprise inspections, and we have people that go in and do that. And quite frankly, in the county, I just heard a report this morning that we had over 200 inspections, and there were 0 cases where they actually had to cite anybody. Everybody there is willing to come into compliance once they're notified. So we do have that happening right now.
So will you be behind any efforts to help keep these local businesses afloat during this second round of restrictions or modifications in terms of financial aid packages or extending moratoriums on evictions or anything like that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we do have some CARE dollars given to the county, and those CARE dollars are going to be mostly for economic development. So we're going to be using those to help businesses, get back on their feet. Also, dollars for child care services, particularly for people to get back to work. When I spoke with one of the hotels, the Catamaran, they said about 80% of their people came back, but the ones who couldn't, primarily because of child care. But we do have dollars for economic development. The county does via CARES dollars, and those dollars have been dispersed via the supervisorial districts. And so I'm going to be looking for businesses, that are on the edge, on the verge of hopefully, of potentially shutting down, and hopefully getting them some dollars so they can stay open and keep their employees employed.
So we've seen our neighboring state, Arizona, they've had a surge in cases. And they shut down late and reopened early, according to most, and the same situation in Florida. And here in California, as I mentioned, we've been pretty conservative, but we've had 17 community outbreaks in 7 days. Our own county threshold is 7 in 7 days. So there is community spread happening right now. So the economy and the virus are so intertwined. What do you suggest we should do to get off this sort of hamster wheel we feel like we're on?
Well, like I said, we want to treat this surgically as opposed to the broad brush, and that's unfortunately what we've done. The brewers, with the Brewers Guild, they've had to shut down, and we haven't had any outbreaks in a brewery. Same with the wine tasting and those type of entities. So I still think we need to go after the bad actors, make sure that they're coming to compliance, as opposed to shutting down an entire sector. So I think that's really, more the focus as opposed to the broad brush that's been being used, particularly when the state, not all portions of the state are in such a good a shape as San Diego County. And I think we've been doing very well, and our businesses have, most part, complied. And like I said, our hospitalizations, our death rates are down. And so we've still got the capacity, even with Imperial County sending us some of their patients, and with Mexico, our capacities are still 67%, and we're only about using less than half of the COVID beds that we have set aside.
Well, Supervisor Jim Desmond, we certainly appreciate your input and insight tonight, and thank you for staying late with us here on the Fox 5 News at 10.
You're welcome, Kathleen, anytime.